Well, the Jerry Sandusky verdict came out last night, and he was found guilty on 45 of the 48 charges of child sex abuse that he was facing. I am happy is not the right word because I would prefer that nothing like this ever happened. But I'm relieved that there was some semblance of justice served. But I don't think this is over. First of all, it's definitely not over for Jerry Sandusky. There are other cases that the prosecutor held back. So there are more children saying they were abused by Sandusky that he hasn't even been charged or tried for yet, including his adopted son. This isn't an isolated incident. This isn't one creepy dude that just happened to get an opportunity to abuse who knows how many young boys. This is happening at every level of our sports programs in every part of the country. I used to live in Charleston, South Carolina. Just recently, Skip Reville was sentenced to 50 years in prison because he was a teacher, a middle school teacher who also was a basketball coach and was taking advantage of the kids that were in his charge. So this isn't something that's just Penn State's problem. This is something that's everywhere. And just because you're not hearing about it doesn't mean it's not happening. A lot of people enabled this to happen. And when I say a lot, it could be 20, it could be 3. Really, anybody that enables a child sex abuser to continue their pattern is a lot. One person is a lot. So I imagine that in the coming years, we will start to see some civil cases against Penn State, the institution, certain individuals who probably knew, who they can prove knew, who they can prove should have known. Systemic child sexual abuse doesn't happen in a vacuum. Yes, the abusers groom their victims, but in that whole process, there are points and places where people who should be paying attention should notice and should do something about it. People who have, in some cases, a duty, a legal duty to identify, report, raise red flags, do whatever it is they have to do. But then a much bigger group of people who have a moral duty to point out and say, I think something is not right here. And they should have the courage to start a conversation and figure out what to do about it. We know that young boys who suffer that type of abuse are more disposed to then reenacting that behavior and have difficulty developing a healthy perspective on sex. So we should care about this because it's a cycle of trauma. The victims now could become the perpetrators later. It's crimes like these that destroy the integrity of our sports. They destroy the integrity of our community. They shatter our illusion of trust in one another, in institutions, in government and law enforcement. They don't chip away. It's not a little by little, and before you know it, a year later, you're like, oh, I made a turtle out of a rock with these little hammers. No, you have a glass ball in your hand, and this is a hammer, and it's gone. Everything is different. Everything is different for that child. Everything is different for their parents. Everything is different for that team and that organization and the people who were involved. Everything is different for Penn State. I mean, look at what happened to Joe Paterno. Everything crumbled and it just didn't want to hang on anymore. We expect more from the people that are in charge and responsible for our children. We expect more.